All right, how's my connection? We're slowly redirecting to YouTube here.
All depends on how you're doing great. All depends on how Matt's sounding.
All right.
Yeah, y'all just send me in the chat if it's bad.
Okay. It
All
hasn't
right,
been
we're
great.
we're 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 live we're live and live. If you want to give me a second, I'll blast it out because I bet there's going to be some folks that want to join.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I should probably put it on Reddit.
Yeah, for sure. Get that MVP vote up.
Woo. I'm exhausted
From watching that or just in general?
from watching that. That's wild. It is. It takes so much to win there. It always does. And when they're that good of a team, like man, ugh, you just can't gush enough about the kid. The kids played really hard. They uh they
I
had
mean,
good resilience
the way
every
we
time.
the way we fought
Hey
around
Jackson,
screens.
Mhm.
Jackson,
Eh,
when you lead in wire to wire,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They only took the tie one time for briefly one time when they went on their run.
yep.
There's lots of stuff I'm gonna say in this one. There's lots of stuff to say.
Yeah, this is a good hour content pod, right?
What year was that terrible Auburn game with Cam Newton there?
2012,
Uh,
2013, I think.
yeah, I think it's 2012 or 2013, maybe 2013.
It was the year that he was coming back to finish his degree. That's all I remember. All right, we're
Yeah,
we're blasted out on
2012,
Twitter.
50, 55, 49. No, that was we won the game that was even worse than that, didn't we?
40 something, 30 something, I believe.
Maybe Chat could help me out. Chat, what year was that? That terrible 49, 47, 2013, right?
Yep, that's it. That is it.
All right, we're blasted out. Jackson, you ready to start recording?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right, YouTube, get your MVP votes in the chat. It's gonna be a tough one. Three, two.
All right, we are back on the jungle, back on a historic night. Number one Auburn goes into Tuscaloosa, hell itself in Coleman Coliseum to take on the number two Alabama Crimson Tide. It's never happened in the SEC before. It's rarely ever happened in college basketball before, even. I don't know how many years it's been since that's happened, but we went in there. And just remember, before I tell you that final score, how far we've come. We've just secured again the AP number one, most likely. We just took the lead in the SEC. Back in the day, remember where this rivalry was. We were winning games 49-37 in 2013. No one cared about what was happening in this game. No one cared about Auburn basketball nationally. Just a few of us in the stands, a few of us watching at home. But this time, the whole college basketball world, their eyes were upon this game, the Iron Bowl of basketball. And we went in there and we played 6 versus 5 with Pat Adams and his stupid freaking monitor where he was hunting for fouls all night. And we still went in there and won by 9 points. 94-85. We take down number two Alabama in their own house to take the lead in the SEC. Boys, are you guys having fun or what?
It doesn't get more fun than this until March, Jackson. That was wire to wire. Wire to wire led the whole way, got off to a great start, had to deal with all kinds of adversity. It doesn't get any sweeter than that regular season game. There's no way. It doesn't matter winning the regular season, although that's the goal, especially now. Winning there in Tuscaloosa that way against that Alabama team is as good as it gets. That was awesome.
All week we have been hearing about how we are overrated, how Janai Broom is not healthy enough, about how Chad Baker Mazara might not play, about how Alabama shoots 200 more free throws on the season than this Auburn Tigers team. They're going to be too tough for us on the glass. They're going to be too deep with scoring options. And we still went in there. And Ryan's right. We could have and should have won this game by 15. We are head and shoulders above them. We are the best team in the SEC. We are the best team in America. The NCAA came out with their first mock tournament seeding this week. And somebody asked the head of the committee, they said, if Alabama wins today, do they jump Auburn for number one? And they said, Auburn's body of work is bigger than just one game. But boys, there is no one game bigger than the one that we just won.
There's so much you could talk about with this game. I mean, I gave you like that little bit of like trying to put a platform to this, but like this season in the SEC is like no else the best conference maybe ever in college basketball right now. And we are leading it, solely leading it after taking down our hated rivals who are number 2, both in the SEC now and number 2 in the country. Add in the fact that Aiden freaking Holloway transferred away from our team, the traitor of Auburn versus Alabama, and had an absolute stinker of a game. Every time Aiden Holloway was in that game, I was so happy because he was turning the ball over. He was airballing threes. He was committing fouls. He couldn't finish at the rim. It was so refreshing to watch. And it's crazy that in the offseason, we thought the whole narrative of this game would be, oh man, we're finally going to take Aiden Holloway on. That we've never seen a traitor like this in the Auburn-Alabama rivalry. We've seen players commit to us and leave it, but we've never seen a transfer straight in like that. But yet we still overshadowed all of that. Didn't even put it in the intro because number 1, number 2 was such a big deal. But man, tell us about the game, Matt. How did it start? How'd it go? What'd you think?
I just thought we were extremely we were physical enough. We were up to the challenge. To me, this game was always going to come down to a few key categories, and it's not the nation's most efficient offense, which we know we have, and we leaned on it heavy in this game. It was rebounding, it was turnovers, and it was defensive three-point percentage mainly with Alabama because they are such a good volume three-point shooting team. We held them to 19% from the three-point line, and we only turned it over 4 times on the road in Tuscaloosa in that environment. Now, we only forced 7, but we won the turnovers. We lost rebounds, but other than a couple sequences, it didn't feel like we were getting demolished on the glass. It felt like we did okay, and Alabama has become much better of a defensive rebound team. So to me, it was all the little plays, all the hustle plays, the toughness, the grit, and these guys, through all the ref adversity, through Janai going down again, through Chad's antics, through all the things that we'll talk about, they kept fighting off every run. You guys, rightfully so, mad every time Alabama put together. They had 3 big runs in this game. Every single time Auburn answered with their own run to stretch the lead back out. It was you just can't say enough about the guys in the Auburn uniforms and how they handled the moment, the stage, and the opponent.
Ben?
Jackson, I'm here looking at the Justin Ferguson box score. If you're joining us on YouTube, you can look at some of these amazing stats from the game. But the biggest one that jumps out to me is the one that Matt led off with. The time the game was tied was 1 minute. We spent 39 minutes of this game forcing Alabama to play from behind. And when you combine that with running them off the line, fighting through screens, holding them to 5 of 26 from deep, that is how you beat an incredibly talented Alabama basketball team.
If you were in our text group, I am a negative texter. We led this thing almost the entire time. And every time we did some little thing, somebody fouled something. There was a turnover here. We had to play a weird lineup with Chris Moore Turtle or something. I'm like, the sky is falling. This is it. This is when we collapse. This is when the run comes. But we led that thing the entire time. It's just insane. And you've heard me talk so many times about away games. There's no easy away games in the SEC. We're undefeated on the road in the best freaking conference maybe ever historically in college basketball with the number 1 hardest schedule in all of the country. We are undefeated in the SEC on the road. Just absolutely insane. We like to start on this podcast with our question we ask every time for a win. We've asked it a lot this year, who the MVP is. I think it's going to be tough. So YouTube, please help us out in the chat with some MVPs. I've got the Reddit one, but I put it in kind of late. So it's going to have to be us 3 boys, I think, for the most part. They're going to have to parse this one out, and it's going to be tough. Ben,
look, I'm wearing my throwback jersey to the 2022 team, the last time Auburn won in Tuscaloosa. So I'd like to give an MVP shout out to my jersey and the Under Armour team. No, I'm kidding. Just like in that game, though, shooters made the difference. And I think we got to start our talk off looking at our shooters. I mean, Miles Kelly, once again, put together an incredible game. 32 minutes. I mean, this was a game where we absolutely leaned on our dudes. The minute spread is not anywhere close to even. Miles finished tonight with 15 points on 3 of 9 shooting from the floor, but he was 2 of 6 from deep. And most importantly, he was 7 of 8 from the free throw line. So when it got hairy in that last minute, while Matt's screaming at all of us, the game's not over, Miles Kelly made sure that game was over. And once again, snatching 8 rebounds from the shooting guard position. I mean, Miles has a big frame, and he has continued to use it to do the tough stuff. I mean, he's really embodying that Chris Moore junkyard dog energy, which is just huge.
Matt, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Miles was terrific. I'm so glad 8 rebounds was just massive from, and his. I mean, I've said it all year. I'm just amazed at the defender he is. He is so solid. He picks up some fouls here and there that may be a little iffy, but like he just works his tail off. His body language. He is like an adult on this team in a way with his attitude, and he is. That transition three he hit. There were so many big shots in this game, but Miles is just completely unafraid, and his free throws were terrific. I'm going to talk about Denver Jones. I don't know if he should win MVP, but he was definitely the guy that I thought like carried us through some tough parts of the first half. He started the second half extremely hot, hitting three shots or three threes. He hit a ton of shots, but it's the defense. It's all those little plays against Mark Sears. You're guarding Aiden Holloway and Mark Sears the entire game, and Mark hit a few from the parking lot, but other than that, we did a really, really good job, and that started with Denver Jones. 0 turnovers. You guys have been harping on the turnovers with him, rightfully so. He played almost more minutes than anybody, and he had to play a ton of extra minutes because Chad was in and out and hurt and all sorts of stuff. So they slid him down to the 2 quite a bit. I thought Denver probably the best overall game. If you're a Denver Jones fan, this game is he showed it all. He didn't get a ton of rebounds or assists. His numbers aren't that flashy, but every time you look at a winning play, I don't know how he doesn't have an assist. There was a beautiful play at the end. Anyway, I thought Denver was terrific. I don't know if he's MVP, but he deserves to be in the conversation.
Denver, you guys know that I've been the most speculative about Denver, the most critical about his performances against top 10 teams, really feeling like he's let us down these big ones, giving us goose eggs and some of the other top 10 matchups we've had, saying we need to start Todd Pettiford more. We need to play Todd Pettiford more. I got to give Denver Jones a huge shout out for this one, for confirming my bias a game or two ago, and then coming back and bouncing back from that in our biggest game of the year and the biggest game in SEC basketball history with 16 points, hitting 3 3-pointers, and playing absolute lockdown defense. Holy crap. I had said his name so many times in our text group because he just locked those guys down. They couldn't do anything out there. In fact, at one point, he had a game. You almost wish you could give people points. He locked down, I think maybe it was Mark Sears or maybe it was Aiden Holloway, so well that he turned the ball over and then went straight to Miles Kelly. Miles Kelly was wide open in transition to hit a 3. I was like, those points are deserved by Denver for how just locked down, how bamboozled Bama felt on that possession because Denver was just a brick wall in their way. So he might be my choice, but I have to shout out, because we always do this every single game, the absolute giant, the Superman, Janai Broome, with 19 points and 14 rebounds and 6 assists and 2 blocks. Are you kidding? Like, Superman does Superman every time and we're not shocked. And we look over at Batman and Flash and the Green Lantern and we're like, oh, cool, those powers are. Superman's got all of it. He's doing all of it out there, and he's doing it hurt. Again, in away game, and he gets hurt again, rolls his ankle again. He's not wearing his shoe. Oh my God. With 4 fouls, we got to put Dylan back in. Of course, he gets his 5th. We'll talk about that later. But man, Broome comes right back in and starts muscling people for rebounds out there, still getting block shots, still hitting 2s. It's incredible. He misses free throws down the stretch, which really killed me. But he hit 2 big 3s to start the game, to really start this game off right. Because we've seen the leads evaporate at times, we forget about it. But those starts we've had recently where everybody's hitting their shots and getting us up 9 points to start the game, that's why we can weather these huge runs, because we start off on a huge run. So don't discount that. But man, I don't know. I think we have a big conversation. I want to give it to Denver purely from my own bias, because I've been so critical. But Janai Broome with 19 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists. It's an insane stat line. Could you imagine anyone else on this team doing anything close to that?
And Jackson, you mentioned this. He got hurt. We brought Dylan back out, who immediately picked up his 5th foul. Janai Broome played the last 4 minutes and 54 seconds of this game and did not come out at all. We swapped a lot of guys in and out for offense, defense. It was Broome back there every time, playing grown man basketball, grabbing those rebounds when we needed them, finding open guys, dishing those assists. I mean, I'm glad we put the graphic out this week to appreciate the things that he is doing, because we may never see his like in an Auburn uniform again.
We've got a lot of people in the YouTube
I
chat
mean,
here. You guys got to give us some MVP love here. We've got Brian Daniels, Denver for MVP. We've got Taylor Alexander, give that MVP to Broom. Since Mud says Aiden is Charmin soft, I just wanted to add that in there because I just want people to remember that screw Aiden for. You can leave Auburn. You can leave. Just don't go to freaking Alabama in the same. It's just whatever. Miles Norgren says Denver Jones MVP. So we got some Denvers. Tucker Robbins says Miles Kelly has my MVP vote. Killer from 3. And when it counted, free throws dropped. Another one, since Mud said Denver MVP, absolutely locked down Sears. Who else do we got? At least one more here. Miles Norgren says CBM for MVP. If he didn't get a T, clutch points when Bama made that final run right after the tie. He hit a 3 and a 2. Sanucho, the senior forward War Eagle, says Denver for MVP on Reddit.
Jackson, you don't recognize Sonichu every episode you come on. You forget that they're in the chat all the time.
I don't know. AU Bear on Reddit says Broom, man, it's hard to pick with how well everybody played, but United controlled the game, played hurt like monster and put away. He doesn't miss the last few free throws, and it's not even a discussion. True. I feel like if he hit those free throws, we wouldn't even be talking. Ribs and Whiskey says, I'll say Denver for locking down Sears. My favorite part of the game was when they tied it up because it gave them hope. Hurts them more now. Love that. So I don't know. There was so many guys in double digits. We had Broom in double digits. We had Denver in double digits. Mal Kelly in double digits. Chaney in double digits. Chad Baker in double digits. Todd Pettiford in double digits. Matt, how are we going to parse this out?
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is one of those games. You don't win this game. We had 6 guys with 13 or more, which never happens in college basketball. It's just never. And we talk about, I think we even said, we're down to like 6 or 7 weapons, right? Like Jakai's out. He's not a factor. Chad was good. We'll talk about Chad, but having 6 guys who can score 13 on the road, Jackson, we've watched this, Ben, you've watched this. Don't take for granted guys who can score double digits on the road against a top 2 team. It's huge. So the depth of scoring is why we won this game on offense. But if you're going to give it to Broom, and you can't argue with it, it's the rebounds and the assists. The rebounds were like gold in this game. The fact that he was able to grab 14 on a bum ankle, I don't care what anybody says. He's not. I don't know what the percentage is. He's not even close to 100. And 6 assists. I think it's easy for us to forget how important he is to this entire offense we've built that's the most efficient in America. So you're not going to get an argument for me. Denver was great. I thought Chad had his moments. Tahad had his moments, but Janai was amazing.
I mean, if I can give you the argument against Janai here, which, I know is heresy on this podcast, he is our Superman, but we've talked about how he's not at 100%, and that really shows up in the rebounding column. We lost rebounding 40-49 tonight, and you look at Alabama's front court: Grant Nelson, 12 rebounds; Cliff Omoruyi, 12 rebounds; Diabute, 7 rebounds. I mean, their big guys were grabbing boards nonstop, particularly on the offensive end. They finished with 14 offensive rebounds to our 7. They doubled us up there. And offensive rebounds is usually Janai Broom's game. And then look down here at this stat: points in the paint. We finished with 26 points in the paint to Alabama's 40. So in a game where we really relied on funneling a lot of these crashing guards to Broom, him not being fully healthy is part of what gave Alabama the advantage there. And then you look at what our guards did, and particularly what Denver Jones did to Mark Sears, LeBaron Philon, and Aiden Holloway. Those guys combined to shoot 10 for 31. I mean, that's less than 30% from the field for some of the highest scoring guards in America. I mean, you think about us holding them to 5 of 26 from deep. It's just insane how good our defense was. I mean, Ryan was all over this in the group chat. He said that the national media narrative was, is Auburn going to guard Alabama? No. How's Alabama going to guard us? We locked them down. And our ability to score from the outside and have guys hit from deep was what allowed Janai to continue to be one-on-one with his guys inside.
Yeah, I'm going to talk myself into Denver because I want to give it to Denver anyways. Here's another fact here. This 19% from 3 by Alabama was huge, and Denver was a huge part of that. So I'm going to give him the lockdowns. I'm going to give it. I mean, it was a team effort to keep them that low from 3 at home. but Denver was a huge part of that. The fact that he kept a steady head this game when everyone's been trying to pressure him the last couple of games, trying to get him to turn the ball over, and he got the offense going every single time. That's another point. He hit his threes, another point. He finished some layups and had some assists. That's another point. I'm down to give it to Denver if anybody else will match me. But, if you guys want to go with Broom, if you guys want to go with Miles Kelly, all we need is one more vote for Denver, and it'll give him the MVP.
Matt, I got to be honest. I'm leaning towards the Deuce. What are you thinking?
You're not going to have to argue with me to get me to go to Denver Jones. I'm good. I'll give it to him. Let's crown him now. Let's go.
All right. Crowned the Jungle MVP. Denver, I know you're listening in the locker room after this historic win because you guys turn this on after every historic win, I'm sure. You are the MVP. Break out the champagne. Celebrate.
Hey, Denver's mom and sister might be listening too. We know they love interacting on the old Twitter.
There we go. But let's talk about some other weird stuff. I know, there's a million directions we could take it, but I personally want to take it this direction. 2 of our players fouled out. CBM with 5, Dylan Cardwell with 5, and both of their 5th fouls came from the refs going to the monitor hunting for their 5th foul. It was ridiculous the amount of times they went to the monitor, the amount of times both of the fouls were, hey, something kind of weird happened. We didn't call anything on the court, but hey, some players are complaining. Let's go see if there was any fouls on this play. Hunting in slow motion for plays. Dylan Cardwell's was on a rebound, kind of pushed Aiden Holloway in the back. That happens all the freaking time in college basketball. And in slow motion, they went and found it. I'm pretty sure they weren't even reviewing that play. I feel like they were trying to look at a different part of the play. Maybe they were looking at Dylan's, but like absolutely ridiculous to go back and try to find that. These little fouls happen in every play all the time, college basketball long.
It's not just that. I know we don't want to talk about the refs too much, Matt, but even Jay Billis on the broadcast was like, this going to the monitor thing is ruining college basketball. They don't do it in the NBA. They say call it right on the court and don't call it and then have to go and check at the monitor. It was a total momentum disruptor, and it's so good to see us survive those momentum disruptors because we had a big one last year in Tuscaloosa when we had to start the game with the lights out. And similarly, Janai Broom opened the game hitting threes in that one too. So it's just a huge testament, once again, to the things that this team can overcome through their grit and their fight.
I've just never seen refs hunt that much for fouls. Like going back and be like, we think something probably happened on the monitor. Let's zoom in here. Let's zoom in there. The CBM one was weird. Like we could talk about that one. I was so upset about that CBM collected another 5th foul and a flagrant swiping his hand rope. But at the same time, they weren't even going to call that. They were looking at a different part of the play. And then was like, oh, okay, in the background, he's kind of falling back there. Let's look at that. Okay, now in slow motion on this different angle. Oh, maybe his arm flies out a little bit. And it's classic CBM. I'm not going to say he wasn't at fault for something there. But those kind of little things happen all game long. And they went and found it on the monitor in slow motion on the 3rd angle. It was absolutely ridiculous. I'll get mad at CBM later, but for now, I'm just mad at the refs for constantly going to the monitor and for constantly looking for those 5th fouls.
It's out of control. It's out of control. Just because a coach or a player asks you to review something as a ref does not mean you have to review it. And it's been getting worse and worse every year. And our guys do it too. It's what they're creating in the sport, and it's dumb. And unfortunately, we were a victim of Dylan's was probably a foul, but it's just that was a brutal 5th foul to take because Tahad had just made an amazing shot, and
Tahad was fouled on that layup,
right? And then Chad's like, it's different. Dylan, I felt really bad for because his 3rd and 4th foul was just completely straight up. His 3rd was late in the first half. His 4th was when he came in the second half. There was nothing else he could have done. The last 3 fouls he collected were so soft. So you feel bad for guys like that. I feel less bad because Chad's fouls were more deserved and more silly. And I don't know when we're going to learn not to – you just can't flail your fist at somebody's face when you're falling.
If you think CBM's under a microscope, this is the most microscope you can freaking get. They were on the 3rd angle in slow motion to find the microscope that got CBM out of the game. And I'm mad at him. I'm mad that he's still doing stuff because Matt has this point for 2 years now. It's always CBM. CBM's always doing something. At this point, even though it's every time, it's something a little thing. Like the idea that you could be kind of pushed out of bounds and falling backwards and wipe your arm out there, like that's really not that bad. It happens all the time, but it's always CBM. And he's always doing the little things. And now the
Just fall
microscope's
down.
Oh,
so
but
yeah, the
but
microscope's
to Matt's
so
credit,
small now that they have zoomed in
yes,
on him. And this is where you're at,
yes.
CBM. So stop even trying the littlest things. You're not getting away with the elbows. You're not getting away with anything else. You're not even getting away with this little stuff because they're going to go to slow motion and find it and kick you out of the biggest game
And
of the year.
Well, hang on, but
when you have 4 fouls, you can't do it when you have 4 fouls. Fall down, you might get a call yourself.
yeah.
Just
In fact,
fall
that's
down.
what I thought they were looking for originally. I was like, oh, they're gonna call this because he pushed him out of bounds. Okay, great. All right. And then they're like third angle in. Jay Billis is like, nothing there, nothing there. Oh, he swiped his arm out. Got him, toss him out the game. There's a foul. Jay Billis all game long, even though they called 1,000 fouls for Alabama every single time they drove the ball. Even when they weren't, they were still like, oh, there's a foul. That was a foul on that one. This was a foul on that one. Oh, he swiped his hair at one point. Oh, like he hit it on the top of his head. He hit his hair. Call that one, refs. Jay Billis was killing
Well,
me.
look, to Matt's credit, Matt's been on this all game. There's something about the way that we play defense where we're just reachy, you know? And Dylan, when he picked up his second foul in the first half, it was all the way out at the 3-point line. And Jackson, you sent that message. You're like, Dylan, why there? Why do you take that foul there? Because you're going to need that when they call the ticky-tack stuff later in the game. Is this just
they call that the Anthony McLemore special because he used to collect a foul on the 3-point line every single game. And Dylan does it to a certain extent, but like the little hand checks, these big guys, I'm like, just let them go up there, guys. Like
it's not hand checks.
No, it's swipes.
It's slapping.
It's swipes.
Even more ridiculous. Even more ridiculous.
But look, hang on, because we're continuing the block party. We won 6-3 in blocks tonight. We're continuing to lead the nation and keeping our average of around 6.8 per game. Is that just the price that we have to pay for our style of defense?
Play for the block fine under the basket, which frustrates me, Tyz. I'm like, just let them make a hard two. Don't foul on the 3-point line when they haven't even shot the ball.
The problem is, Bruce will tell you this, their whole defense is predicated on effort and energy on the ball. So, like, they want to take away those easy passing lanes and be up, especially if somebody picks up their dribble. Like, they are taught to be up there. You'll see it all the time. But Chaney does it. Janai does it. It's hard for big guys, I think, when you're out there. Yeah. You want to be physical like you are inside, and it's just so obvious. I think there's a reason. My point is, I'm defending our big guys a little bit. When you look at all the years, it's everybody. It's how we defend, and I think how we defend has way more positives. But I think that's why they end up that way. Sometimes.
It's another great reason of why how Janai Broome is so good. Even this game, he had 2 or 3 plays where he just olayed the layup shooter. The ones where Dylan just flies in and chests that guy up and gets a foul call every single time. Janai sometimes will just step back from him, and they'll miss that too. There was one in particular tonight, I think maybe it was Grant Nelson, where he got the ball and it looked like he was going to be a big time dunk or layup in a very crucial time. And Janai just kind of stepped like right at the last second, kind of got his arm out of there. Didn't even give the ref an excuse to call that foul. And Grant missed it. And there was 2 or 3 other ones like this game. And just in general, where I'm like, the sad part is like, you're right. Dylan Cardwell went straight up and down on one where I was like, how do you call that? That was straight up and down, maybe 2 even. And I'm like, that's what you want though. If they beat you down there, they drive down it, just go up and down, and they will miss that half the time. Like if they know when they can get a good block, and they know when it's going to be like close. Just don't do it. They're going to miss half the time, and luckily sometimes they get that. But we'll get in foul trouble. And Broome's been so great at it. Is there another stat on here you guys want to talk about? You think?
I want to talk about second half stats just for a second because we talked about this a lot today, and we've talked about this throughout the season of letting go of the rope at the end of the first half. This was a game where we locked down at the end of the first half. We shot clocked Sears at the end of the game there. We got some really good quality looks. We didn't rush the shot clock, and we finished up 9 at the end of the first half. And Alabama did their thing, man. They scored 52 points in that second half. Now, thankfully, we scored 52 right along there with them. But being able to end that first half the way that we did, hold them to 33 in the first half, that was huge.
I mean, 9-point victory on the day. You let go of the rope at the end of the half, which I think they had gone on a run. We were like, okay, it's about 2 minutes left. It's that time. And it's great. It's been so great to be on the other side of this year. But in the past, we'll go down away and go, oh, just get it back to like a reasonable amount. Get it under 10 if you're down by 10, or get it if you're down by, just get this thing within 2 or 3 points at the halftime and you just hit reset. And this time we were up a decent amount. They go on a run. They've got it back to, I think, 4, maybe even 2. And we go on that run to put it up 9. We lock them down, hit a couple shots. And that's that you don't win the game in the first half, but hey, a 9 point, it's like only coincidental. That's what we won at the end of the half. And that's what we want at the end of the game. Even with our missed free throws and everything. So hey, those end of halves are huge. Can't let go of the rope and let them get back in the game.
I have a stat for you boys that's not on our lovely Justin Ferguson tweeted out
Let's
stat sheet.
go. Let's go.
The Alabama is like playing in another sport, like preparing for a completely different offense that you have to guard very differently. Hard not to make comparisons to other sports here, but I think you can all track where I'm going. You have to defend Alabama completely opposite of how you are usually trained. And we have a top, 15 defense in America. We're really good. We've always been good under Bruce. Um, you let them take twos at the rim against Alabama. And we did outside of a couple occasions in the first half. The second half, they just hit from the parking lot a few and they got hot, which is they do that. They shoot more
I
than
thought it was
anybody.
over. I thought it
Yeah.
was over
They
when they
shoot,
started hitting
but
those logos.
we did a really, really good job of sticking to shooters, making everything outside the 3 point line tough. And I did some math. They take about in the season, they take 42 or 43% of their shots are threes. They want threes, layups, or free throws. Everybody talks about that. It's a great system. It's really effective. Today they it was 36 or 37%. So we cut their 3 point attempts down and we made them shoot a bad percentage. And that's you give up 40 points in the paint to Ben's point earlier. That's a win. Like you almost want to
Yes.
lose points in the paint because that means they are having to score in there and hopefully hit tough twos. And I just thought, I don't know which scout team, group of coaches had the scout. I thought it was tremendous. They picked on CBM a little bit. They picked on Chris Moore a couple times, but like the perimeter defense, I thought they made things really tough for them. And you have to. If you don't do that, that's how Alabama's beating these teams by 20 or 30 points. You just can't let them get on a roll from three, and it's way easier to say than do. I just think our guys did a great job at that.
And
I
in the
always
second half, we did such a great job, to your point, Matt, of when they would roll to the rim, breaking down and double teaming. And that was where we started to see some block shots. We had a huge block from Chad Baker Mazzara before he fouled out that was really incredible. And late, see if you had this on your bingo card. We got a huge block from the Junkyard Dog, Chris Moore. We're at number 5 with all 5 fingers knocking that ball out of there. And it just, you could tell that they were starting to see some ghosts when they went inside. And that's why what Jackson was talking about earlier, you start to olay them a little bit and they're hearing footsteps and they're not thinking about the basket. And that's how you get those misses right at the cup.
couple big blocks this game. There was one where, of course, CBM. He makes some good play and then starts talking to some old lady on the. It's like a dude, middle-aged woman, and an old lady, and he's like talking mess with them. It's like, what is going on? Walk away! What are you talking about with this guy? Holy crap! And then apparently, like the next play, I think Jay Lowry on Instagram messaged us about it. He was like, that next block was like right at them, which I think is hilarious. Chris Moore had that huge block at the end. Janai had a huge block, I believe, at one point, even after he came back from being hurt, which was cool. So it's always fun to do these big blocks. Chris Moore, he had an interesting game. That I love that he's just always hustling. He's always going to be there, like almost like the turtle in the hair. Like he's not going to speed by anybody or be like he's just going to be there at all times. And just anyways, he got the big block, and that's just staying prepared. But earlier in the game, he started. That's a big thing we didn't talk about really. He started over CBM. Apparently, CBM's been hurt. You can tell by the stat lines from the last 2 games that he's not right. And so the fact that CBM came in at all and played the way he did is great, but Chris Moore had to start over him. And there's some attitude stuff there too, of course, with CBM that I'm sure played a part in this thing. But Chris Moore got left wide open on the 3 line early in the game. And I was cheering, and before, hey, he's hit one of these before. And we were up, I think, 10 at the time. And I was like, you're going to leave Chris Moore like that? If he hits this, holy crap, take the roof off, kind of thing. He misses it. All right, fine, but you got to take that. Otherwise you're a black hole in the offense. They'll just, be able to play 5-on-4 or whatever. Next possession, same thing. They leave him even more wide open. Misses it again. Okay. Then he goes down, fouls their guy, and it's like, I don't care how hurt you are, CBM. You got to come back in. And CBM played fine, but Chris Moore stayed around. So it was a conflicting game for Chris Moore.
Well, let's talk about that though. I thought Alabama was the most aggressive we've seen. They decided to leave Broome, Chaney, and Chris Moore. And those 3 guys were 4 for 11 from 3.
I don't know why you
You
would
don't
leave
know
Huge.
Chaney. maybe
Huge.
Broom, but Broom still has made people pay, but he's still only shooting, I think, what, 33%. I'll look it up, but like in the low 30s. So I get that a little bit. But Broom makes the teams pay early in the games. Every time it seems he hits these threes early and then just cools off the rest of the game. Cheney's a good 3-point shooter, right? Like he's pretty good.
It's getting better.
Yeah,
His percentage isn't great.
Okay.
it's definitely getting
They
better through conference play. And again, I think it's one of those pick your poison things because if you can leave him out there and let him try to dribble drive, he's not as great on his mid range jumper. Obviously, the last two games, both against Vandy and now, his little turnaround shot is just getting unblockable. I mean, he's shades of Jalen Williams out there. And then you add the 3-point shooting to his game. It's like we've completely filled that power forward void that we've been talking about.
I just think it was a response. You have the numbers, Jackson. Go ahead.
20. All right. Maybe they're right for leaving them open, but Broom has hit some big ones. 28% from three from Broom, which, like, hey, when he's got everything else in his bag, that's still huge. The guy his size can do that, even at 28%. It'd be nice if he could get that up to the 30s. Cheney is 29.7. So he's just right there next to 30%. But yeah, I thought Cheney was shooting a little better than that. So I kind of get why, like, anybody shooting below 30%, let him shoot over Miles Kelly or Denver Jones or Todd Pettiford. Any of these other guys are absolute sharpshooters.
That's the decision they made. And I just want to we can look at Chris Moore missing 0 for 3. But if you look at those three guys as a trio, they just said, hey, we'll let those guys shoot threes. We want Broom out there. We don't want Broom inside. And our offense is just so good that teams, I think, are going to start getting more creative about that. And those guys shot a better 3 percentage today combined than our team did. So it's just an interesting. I haven't seen a team from the very beginning of the game just be like, you got it, take it, go for it. And that Bruce always has his guys in that mindset of like, yeah, if you're open, it's a good shot. Take it. He really believes in Cheney and Janai. And knowing Bruce, he wants Chris to at least take one of those. The first one was almost down. It was it looked good. It just didn't quite go.
AU
And
Bear
boys, we shot 40% from three on the road against the
crazy,
number
man.
2 team in America. Who are these Auburn Tigers?
I still have PTSD from 2 years ago where the 3-point shooting was just so bad in a way. It was like if you shot 15%, you were happy. So this is how it is. This is how it's been all year. And this is a huge reason. It's crazy. Like, I don't think of ourselves as like one of the best 3-point shooting teams ever, but it's a reason why we're the number one offense in the country is because we are shooting this well. So it's crazy because any other year, this would have been like, this is a 3-point team. But because we have Janai, it's either one. And we have Cheney too, so pick your poison.
And
AU Bear.
we spent a lot of time. I see you're about to talk about AU Bear's point.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time in the offseason talking about the talent that we lost. And it's been kind of hard watching Aiden go on a tear through conference play. Trey Donaldson is a star at Michigan right now. He's got them contending for their regular season title. KD Johnson has George Mason contending for the A10 title to possibly steal a bid to the NCAA tournament. These guys who couldn't buy a bucket for us last year. Trey excluded.
Transfer anywhere but Alabama, anywhere besides the SEC, like anywhere but Alabama, and I'll be okay with it. Anywhere besides the SEC, and I'm cheering for you. I don't know why you went Alabama.
Alabama stole 2 5-star guys from us. LeBaron Philon was committed to Auburn before he flipped and went to Alabama. Aiden Holloway spent an entire year playing for us before he flipped and went to Alabama. And in my opinion, neither of them held a candle to Todd Pettiford tonight. Todd Pettiford played out of his mind. And AU Bear was bringing that up in the chat that he took over for stretches, especially in times when it looked like we needed a bucket.
We've needed Pettiford to do that in some of these big top 10 matchups. When Denver really fell off, some of our other guards were having trouble. We needed that guy that's just that much more talented than everybody else. We didn't necessarily we needed in stretches tonight. He hit a couple big shots when things were getting tough. When Alabama got it back to the lead, he went out there and got it the same way CBM kind of does at times. So big shout out to Pettiford. Love that it was part of the offense, part of the game, just like when Cheney went off for a couple points there for a little bit. I love that these different players have had different runs. And unlike some of our other top 10 matchups where Broom had to go off for 25 plus and Dahad had to go off for 25 or so, it was great to see it spread out amongst the whole team.
Well, I mean, I think we just have to give a lot of credit when it was going bad, and it was going real bad there for a minute. Tahad came down and took a 3 when the game was tied. They got all the way back from down 14 to tie it up really fast. It happened really fast. Tahad takes a 3. I don't know if any of our guys were across half court yet. And he just lined it up, drilled it with all the momentum in the world going the other way. Alabama comes down, hits another 3. And then Chad hit a massive three right after that, and we limped to that under 8 timeout. And yeah, Jackson said they
Just
were throwing haymakers.
haymakers.
It's the best two teams in
Haymakers.
the country.
Yeah.
Those two plays, Chad, I thought for him for being banged up, the last play is going to get the attention. He had 15, 5, and 3 off the bench in 24 minutes. Chad was good. He hit his free throws. He got to the line a few times when we needed it. He hit some good shots, which is his specialty. That block was sick, by the way, too. That block he volleyball spiked. That was pretty legendary.
And
But
he got fouled on the 3-point line too, right? By Aiden Holloway. Like how does he how does he do it? How does he keep getting these?
he's just awkward, man. He's an awkward player, and guys don't know how to deal. So I just want to give him credit. He was one of our 6 guys, and I think because he's banged up, because he can be a liability on defense, because of some of the antics, you can lose how valuable. He had some huge moments in this game, as Taha did as well. I just love how fearless that kid is as a freshman to come in. And Bill has said it, like, dude, to take that shot and make it in this environment after you've blown a 14-point lead, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you just better appreciate about a guy like Todd Pettiford. We've been burned by the 5 stars, but man, that kid is special. And the 2 layups he made were just hit with his offhand was just incredible.
Can we talk about this one? So the one that Dylan went off, where they went and hunted and found on the monitor that foul. He hit that shot, right? It should have been an and one. Why was he shooting 2 free throws?
They didn't call it a foul.
So they were calling something else. They whistled.
They called
they called the play. They called it. It was dead ball. It was dead ball after the foul. That's why they didn't call the foul on Stevenson when Denver reached in there, because they had already whistled the play dead to go and look at the monitor and figure out why Youngblood was on the floor.
They called a foul after the bucket on Dylan, and then they went to look and make sure that Tahad's bucket would stand. That's what they were looking at. It was a foul the whole way.
Okay.
But when you hear the whistle and you're watching the ball, you think it's an and one, but the whistle was against Dylan. No. Yeah.
The sequence that Matt just talked about where Tahad hit the 3, Bama hit the 3, CBM hit the 3. I don't know if Bama hit the one back or not. If you don't love that, man, like that makes me want to like fall in love with college basketball all over again. A number 1 versus number 2, a rivalry, number 1 versus number 2, and they're hitting haymakers like that. Like, holy crap. Like, if that didn't get you going, just turn it off. Go watch some other sport, man. That was amazing. What else do you guys want to talk about?
I mean, that was just big time basketball.
Can we talk Aiden? Can we talk some more Aiden?
Let's talk Aiden Holloway. Aiden hit some shots tonight. He had a pretty pedestrian game. He finished with 10 points on 3 of 8 shooting. He got 3 points at the foul line, but he had 4 personal fouls. I don't remember that being as big a part of a game when he played for us.
He got blocked pretty badly on one layup, which I really loved seeing. His 3-pointer that went in, maybe hit 2, I think he just hit 1, was from after they'd already rebounded it twice, and they threw it back out there. You can't give a team 3 shots. He was absolutely wide open to finally hit that one, even though we've been hearing all year how great he's been shooting. The only 3 he hit was like a 3 offensive rebound, deep, wide open 3 that if you had missed that, you might as well just sit down. You're right. He was an absolute liability. We were collecting fouls on him left and right, including that one where he fouled CBM on the 3-point line when we really needed a shot there, and he went ahead and gave us 3 points because CBM's automatic from the free throw line. He couldn't drive. The 10 points he did have, other than those 3, were kind of late in the game. There was like 1 or 2 there where he just flew down with like 10 seconds left on the clock just to get some quick 2 in. Like, nothing Aiden did tonight was good for Alabama. I was like clapping, thrilled every time Aiden entered the game because he was having an all-time stinker of a game, and it was really fun in Tuscaloosa, and it's kind of the game I expected of him in Neville. But in T-Town, I kind of expected the opposite. I kind of expected like him to go off and us be very upset. So we'll see what kind of game he has when he comes back to Neville. But man, all this hype for him this year. All the stats say he's good, but he looked exactly like the Aiden I expected from our team last year.
How about those last 2 possessions too? Which we'll have to talk about the last minute here in a little bit. But it was very satisfying when Denver was the adult. He got the inbounds. He went and hit 2 free throws to make it a 7-point game. Aiden airballs a 3 from the corner. Yeah. We get the rebound. And then the next possession, after we hit 2 more free throws, he turns it over when we're giving up a 2 pretty much. Look, you don't want to be vengeful, but you kind of do.
He's a traitor. He's the biggest traitor in our rivalry of all time.
I agreed.
He screwed us by being a 5-star that wasn't even that good last year and always had to get his shots. And then he leaves for Alabama.
Not just that. He talked trash on his way out the door.
Yes.
We all could have forgiven him if he had said, I need a fresh start. I need to go to somewhere where I can come off the bench and know my role, and nobody would have faulted him for that. But he comes talking about how Bruce sold him a dream when he took more three-pointers and more shots than like anybody else on the team but Janai Broome last year. He comes out in the offseason talking about Cliff Amori is the best center he's ever played with. I mean, come on, man.
He's so lucky. He's so lucky that the first game we played against him wasn't in Neville Arena. And it wasn't because it's number 1, number 2 matchup. That's what everybody was talking about. If this was like number 1 versus number 7 and it was Neville first, he would be a huge part of this game. And the Auburn fans would be letting him have it. And there was a couple quotes from, I think, like Denver still called him a brother. And maybe somebody else on the team, CBM, said he wished him luck or whatever. I think Bruce said the right things of like, oh, I'm sure he wants to beat Auburn, but we want to beat him too. And it's fine, whatever. But like, man, like just reading the tea leaves, I think people were upset with these comments Aiden has made, even our coaches and things.
No doubt. That was marked down from last spring. If you remember at the end of last year, we were so mad about the Yale game. We lose a couple guys. That happens, which was weird. And it was absolutely a point for this team and those guys and these coaches. They would never admit it in a 1 versus 2 game, but I promise you that was an important emphasis for them. And just the fact that you're right. It's all about how he went out. But the point is, and I think both coaches said this, and it's true, it kind of worked out for both of them so far. He's been better at Alabama. He's coming off the bench. He fits their system really well. But Auburn clearly, after we saw him for a year play with us, the ball kind of stuck. There were some weird shots. Auburn has been better without him. So it's the rare thing where maybe both things were good. But Jackson's right. When you leave Auburn and go to Alabama and do it that way, we're not going to feel sorry for you. And you're getting paid as a professional college basketball player now. It is about vengeance, and it was a big storyline in this game. And he got in foul trouble, and our guys went at him. Like I said before the game, go at Aiden, and like they are going to go at CBM because those are the weaknesses on the perimeter. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. He was only in 15 minutes because of foul trouble, so he was not a huge factor in the game. But I love the ending. The ending was
but just like Jackson was saying, every time he was in there, he became our target, and it worked out for us every time we went at him on offense.
Mark Sears into the game with 18 points, 2 turnovers, 2 assists. I felt like we held him down pretty good. He went 2 of 11 from a 3-point line. One of those was like I think one of those epic logo threes. They got hot at one point, but he's their greatest player. He'll be a all SEC player along with Broome there in that top 5 most likely. We hate that he even came back, but I think overall, even though he ended up scoring 18 points, where did he go? 4 of 17, 4 of 17 from the field. So even though he got his, it felt like we really did a great job on defense against him.
Yeah, not efficient shooting, man. And that's all you can ask for about those star players. Because it used to be, star players would go off against us and they'd get their 16 points, but they'd do it on 8 shots. And it would feel like we just never had an answer for them. We had an answer for Mark Sears. He's just a volume shooter and a volume scorer.
Dylan went on.
He's the best in the league. He's the best in the league at drawing fouls. There were at least 4 that were just bad. And I'm pretty slow to blame the refs, but he gets that call all the time where he flails into a straight up guy and goes. It's like the CBM effect in a way, but he always has the ball in his hands. That's why he's so hard to guard. If he didn't have that today, our job on him outside of those calls that he got was about as good as you can do against him, I think. I really do.
I mean, we won this game by 9 points in Tuscaloosa, and the refs were doing their thing there. It just felt like we were such a better team than them. Like, they kept in this game. Like, they had a very big run where they hit a bunch of big threes and things and got it back. But for the most part, it felt like every time we stretched the lead out, the only reason they stayed in the game and stayed close is because they were taking so many free throws and there were so many foul calls. A.U. Bear called them foul merchants. The way Mark Sears plays reminds me a little bit of like James Harden when Harden was on that real big run where he just felt like he was collecting fouls nonstop. He threw his head back and the ref would blow the whistle. That's how Mark Sears kind of plays. And it just, we just outshot them tonight and played them in every other way to where we overcame both the away stuff and the ref stuff.
And, we didn't.
The thing Auburn people, sorry, Ben. Auburn people need to understand, though, the stats They do that all the time. That is how they play. They are going to attack the rim relentlessly. And because of that, on average, they do get to the line more than almost anybody. And it's a big part of their offense. So part of it's Tuscaloosa, part of it's the Iron Bowl. I'm not saying we didn't get some really bad calls, but when we play them again on neutral floor, if we do, or in Auburn, just know like that is how they play. Like that is part of their structure and what makes them so difficult to deal with. And that's why it hurts when the refs bail them out unnecessarily because they're already doing a great job getting to the rim.
I wanted to bring up Dylan's 5 fouls again really quickly. I don't know if we broke down super like his game. He was fine. It's just such a class. He's been here for 5 years now, and his game in Tuscaloosa has not changed. This is exactly the game. I mean, he's gotten better and all, but like every single time in Tuscaloosa, he's got 5 fouls. He just plays so aggressive out there. And then you have to add in this away game Tuscaloosa ref situation. It feels like every single year this happens. So I just wanted to point that out again, just how classic that 5 years in a row, his game in Tuscaloosa has ended up with him on the bench.
I mean, look, yes, but also Dylan, he's such a hard player to figure out sometimes because on the one hand, he continues to close out so well, but he just feel like he doesn't trust the guys behind him as much when he's out there at that line, and that's what's causing him to reach in so often. We had a couple of close looks at him near the basket where I wish he could have finished a little bit more cleanly. He did only finish with 2 points tonight. And he was not the rebound machine that we kind of needed him to be. There were a couple of times where, and this happened with Chaney too, where Janai would be backing his guy down and our four would just crash into the lane so early. And now Broom's double teamed. And I could not figure out what we were trying to do with that.
Matt, any thoughts about Dylan or anybody else on this before we kind of turn the page onto SEC play and where we're at now?
I would just say his third, fourth, and fifth were just really weak. Sears got third and fourth on him and he was straight up. I mean, and Sears jumps into him and bounces off and gets the call. So Dylan, you're right. It's a trend in Tuscaloosa with him. But
well, that's
today
part
was
of the
like
trend is that he gets these super weak calls that he might not get in Auburn and Neville Arena when the crowd's not erupting, you know.
There's one thing we have to point out that I don't know if we focused on enough. Chaney Johnson's coming off a 20-point game against Vandy on the road. He goes into Tuscaloosa, and I thought he hits a three early that was a beautiful wide open shot. He hit some tough twos in that late first half stretch, if I remember correctly.
I mean, he took over the game at one point. At one point, it was
yes.
like, 6-7 points in a row all from him, and it was a really big deal.
Tough jumpers, like he adds another weapon and element, and he was on defense what I would call a very good quiet defensive Chaney game. He didn't stick out with bad fouls. He battled his tail off inside. I thought he was really good. So I know he wasn't like an MVP tonight, but man, he has come a long way, and people nationally after his performance against Vanderbilt are starting to look at him like, oh, like could he be? I'm not saying could he have 60% of a jump like Chuma did before that Final Four run, where he just puts a lot of it together and starts really dominating at the four position? That can really, even take our ceiling even higher.
He's been throwing his weight around for sure. Like he's got something down low where he's really dominating. He's getting a lot of great passes down low too, where he finishes through contact that some of our other guys are only him and Broom really are capable of doing that. And now that Broom's kind of missing some of these tough twos more often, Chaney's kind of been that guy that finishes around the rim when, it's going all wrong out there. So yeah, maybe move up your 3-point shooting percentage a little bit. And that might be the jump you need. All the national writers and announcers are talking about it, that Bruce keeps saying there's something else there with Chaney, that he's got that next step. Hey, Bruce is usually right about this stuff. He talks, and when he says it, it's usually pretty correct. So I'll listen out to that for Bruce. Benny, any last thoughts before we turn the page?
Yeah, just like Matt was talking about, you saw it from CBM, you saw it from Miles, and you particularly really saw it from Denver when guys gave up the ball. It was such an amazing thing to watch Alabama guys be in a one-on-one matchup with Chaney and with Miles and with Denver and try to work the ball and then realize like I've got to take a screen or I've got to give the ball up because I'm just not getting past this guy. It's a defensive clinic. It's a thing of beauty, and it is the defense that travels and will hopefully travel with us all the way through March.
Nice. All right. Well, next up in Neville Arena, we've got Arkansas after that, and a three-game homestand here, which, man, after beating number 2 Alabama in their own house to take the sole lead of the SEC, we get 3 home games in a row. Pretty
Only
nice.
two road games left all year.
Unbelievable. So we've got then Arkansas on Wednesday, Georgia on Saturday, Ole Miss the next Wednesday. Ole Miss is ranked, though it'll still be a tough game. I mean, all three could be tough games, of course, but like the schedule has ended up being pretty good for us, I think, so far this year, like cadence wise. We got to get started, then we played some tough games. We've had bounce back games. Nothing's easy in this SEC for sure, but like you've got to play all the tough games. At least they've been in a decent cadence. We will end the year. I mean, it's crazy how close we're to the end of the year. I just named those 3 games. And I'm like, and then what else is going on? I don't know. Usually we don't go past those 3.
Well,
No,
here's the other thing that
next
you've
3
got
is the
to
last 3. Yeah.
here's the other thing that you've got to think about that's so huge about tonight. We now have a 2-game lead over Florida, and we have a 1-game lead over Alabama, which means that for Alabama to have a shot to come into Neville and take the regular season title from us, they cannot lose another game. And I don't know if you've looked at Alabama's schedule, but the rest of Alabama's schedule is going to get tough, starting with a road trip to Missouri, who's been a very hot team continuing to win. They're staying ranked. They've got Florida at home. They've got Kentucky at home, and they've got to go to Knoxville, a team in Tennessee that just came back from being down 16 to Vanderbilt to win today.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I mean, 6 games left. We have to go to Rupp. A&M, I hate it. They only have 3 losses. We have to go there. We already lost the tiebreaker to Florida. So I'm glad Florida and Alabama play each other. One of them is going to lose, but we still have a lot of work to do. I think,
And when you
man,
end the when you end the
you
year
rewind a week.
when you end the year at Kentucky, at Texas A&M, and at home against Alabama, like they're all there. It's all right. You can easily lose those 3, and it's all then you have 4 losses, and it's whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
And
nobody's saying
just
saying that, but as Matt always loves to talk about, we control our own destiny. We're in a really great position to have everything in front of us all the way through the end of the year. It's just about taking care of business.
Well, can I say that I think I just want to give a lot of credit to this team. If you rewind a week ago, the reason that Florida loss hurt so bad was because we got out muscled and out physical, and we got beat pretty cleanly by Florida. You looked ahead at this week ahead at Vandy, at Alabama, and you were like, oh my gosh, we could have a 3-game losing streak if we're not careful. And man, like what a response this week from these guys on the road, back-to-back games. They have earned this 3-game homestand. And you just have to make sure now you get greedy because you're alone in first place again, and you just want to hold serve at home. And now that we're in the final home stretch here, 6 games left, man, when you know your last 3, what's coming, these next 3, don't miss it, fans. Like if you're in Auburn, like pack it out, huge atmospheres, get the team going because we really need to hold serve these next 3 to put ourselves in the best position.
Do we know if Alabama students camped out for this one? Biggest game ever?
Yes, they did.
Crazy. So we've had at least 2 games where people camped out for Auburn, right? Away. Ole Miss did all right as well. That's great. I hope no one storms the court on us, but like this is kind of like crazy stuff. Like we're the other team Super Bowls now. Other scores from today, we took down Bama. Missouri's still having a great bounce back season after being terrible last year. They're ranked number 21. They took down Georgia. Vanderbilt lost to Tennessee and Knoxville, so you hope there might be something there. But Tennessee's already got 5 losses, which is huge. So that's great. Texas A&M, like you said, is hanging around with 3 losses. Could easily change things up. Beat us. We lose one other one. We're tied up. It's great. It's that quick. They're number 8 in the country. And they'd have a tiebreaker. They're number 8 in the country. It's in freaking College Station, so it's going to be tough against Buzz Williams, who's had our number a bit. I think they were number 6 in the nation according to the college basketball poll committee, right? Oh man, it's crazy that I can't imagine having the season they're having being this good and just having like 5 other teams in front of you. It's insane. Florida plays South Carolina tonight. Kentucky plays Texas. Ole Miss is down a decent amount to Mississippi State right now, and you got LSU and Oklahoma, who are very forgettable, and we don't play again this year. Standings wise, we are the sole SEC leaders. Soak it in right now. 11-1 the conference. Bama 10-2 in second. Then Texas A&M and Florida tied with 3 losses. Ole Miss, Missouri. Wow, I can't believe Tennessee's fallen so far. You got Tennessee and Kentucky is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 7th and 8th, tied for 7th and 8th, or tied for 7th, I guess, in the SEC. Crazy they've fallen that far because they are really good teams. Also, maybe this is the year we can beat them in Rupp. We'll see. I wouldn't, cross your fingers, I guess. But the 4 buys there stand at Auburn, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Florida. Man, the SEC is wild this year.
It's something else, man. It's a hard league. Our best team ever is going through the deepest SEC of all time. It's just so unfair.
Well, and if you zoom out, obviously things are great right now. Broom re-aggravated that ankle. Chad is not 100%, and you just don't get any breaks. I mean, you're playing physical. You're playing John Calipari this week, and it's a break. You're playing that Arkansas team that isn't great, but they beat Kentucky and rough. They can definitely beat us if you're not careful. So it's just brutal, man. And I think that for the fans at home, the main point now is today was a huge step towards the double bye, which Ben always talks about. Saves you some games in the SEC tournament, whether you win or lose, which is great. Being in that top four. And it's fairly simple now, I think, for us. I think you obviously cheer for Auburn. You cheer against Alabama always. And you need to be cheering for Florida and A&M to take a loss or two in these next couple weeks. That would be the ideal scenario. And I would hate for it to come down to us having to beat Alabama at the end to keep them out of sharing our conference title or taking it from us. Like that's kind of the next fearful thing for me is 3 weeks from now. I would love to have that locked up, and then we're going to be hyped for Bama. We're going to want to beat Aiden at home. I would just love to have Alabama out of the conference title picture by then, and I just don't know if they're going to cooperate. But today was a good start.
One question for you. I see Jakai Howard on the score list here. When did he get in? Was that just right at the end or something? Did he get in at all? Why does he have 1 minute on both Justin Ferguson's and the ESPN one?
Did I didn't see him out there. I didn't see him out there, but there's a possibility we swapped him in late just as an extra free throw shooter. Because Chad was out and we had Simo in there, and it might have been that they put him in for that very last possession just in case. But
Chad, let us know if you guys saw him out there. I just surprised to see 1 minute on. I thought it was a mistake on the media box score, but he's also on the ESPN one. Maybe that's because they use the same box score, but I was surprised to see that. So it'd be interesting if he did, because we sit in the chat this today. I hate that we have to even keep talking about it. Probably just need to stop talking about it altogether. But with CBM being banged up, he was on the questionable list, and we were texting back and forth. We thought, okay, well, Chris Moore will start, but if we don't see Jakai Howard, then we're punting on this game, is what I said. I was like, I know we don't want to play him for like long-term reasons, but if you play Chris Moore like the whole game and CBM doesn't play at all, and you decide Jakai Howard's not playing because of attitude reasons or whatever else, then you're like punting on this one for the long-term like motivation for this team, that no matter what happens, you won't play a toxic player. So I'll be curious. We didn't need him because CBM was playing pretty well. So I'd be really curious to find out if like I missed a quick rotation where CBM refused to go back in or something, and we had to like throw him out there for a second, or if there was like, I don't think at the end of the game, last 5 seconds, they would do the whole like put in the bench guys. So I don't know, let us know. I think that's probably just a mistake that I'm spending way too much time on the podcast here. Any other thoughts, guys, before we, it's just such a historic one. I don't want to let it go. I want to talk forever, but
I can't wrap my head around how much we deserved this. We looked like the better team that was out there. When you hold Alabama to only making 5 3-pointers in an entire game, I mean, this is a team that's made 20 3-pointers in a game so far this season. Like, we deserved this game. It's so nice for the guys to get it. It's so nice for the fans, because now we don't have to deal with Alabama fans telling us how overrated we are. We don't have to deal with them taking our crown, having the best season ever, to only to have Alabama finally one up us once again. It feels good, man. I'm going to savor this win for a long time.
The scary part is I really hated how this set up for this team. It's like, man, we have been so good all year. We lost one game against a top 5 team, and now we're at risk of being in second, and going on the road first. And if you lose today, you have to beat a really good Alabama team in Neville to avoid a sweep to them. But winning today completely shifts that narrative. You have an opportunity to sweep them at home to finish the regular season. You obviously get the SEC lead and all that, but it was very cathartic to watch this team work through all the adversity, because we can all make excuses. Again, don't be surprised when you go to Tuscaloosa and lose the free throw attempt battle. It's not surprising. These guys were tough enough. They handled the runs with their own, and they matched them with their own. And it was just, it's another check in the books of like, a lot went wrong today that would have sunk a lot of worse teams. And this team's just really good. And I get in trouble sometimes for hyping up our opponents, and Alabama in particular. But if you don't think they're a really good team, then this win isn't as meaningful as I think that Alabama team is just as dangerous, if not more, than last year. And I think they are a Final Four contender. I really do. So for us to go in there and beat them the way we did, for me, it's the best win of the season.
We made history today, guys. I don't know if it's translating the way I think it should in the fan base. I still remember that Memphis Tennessee 1-2 matchup from like 2008, I think it
2008,
was.
baby.
Like
2008.
I remember how hyped that was. I made sure to be there in front of that TV for that huge one. I'm hoping fans did that around the nation for this one also. Like this is going to last for a long time. Maybe there's another number one, number two in the next couple years. Who knows? But like it took a real, last one was like 2014, maybe like 10 years ago, I think, maybe 9 years ago. It was 2016 with Kansas and somebody. Like this happens like every decade. And we got to be in it and we got to win it in our opponent rival's house. That's another element. It's like never happened or hasn't for an extremely long time for an in-state rivalry. Holy crap. I mean, I brought up the score at the beginning, this 2013 score. I think I still have it pulled up over here. Yeah, here it is. 49-37 in 2013. That back then, I was ready to dismantle the basketball programs at both schools and say, you know what? Let's at least get one good program in the state. UAB has shown some promise. Put all the budgets from Auburn and Alabama's basketball into UAB. And here we are, number one and number two, ruling basketball right now. It's just an incredible turn of events and just embrace it, man. Soak it in.
Bruce Pearl is all about making Auburn history. Making history is his thing. We would be remiss if we didn't say how incredible it is for a guy like him who started at Indiana, Milwaukee, and wherever else he coached, a guy who did not grow up around with anything given to him in college basketball. He is the only coach in college basketball history to win a number one versus number two game at multiple programs, and he did it at Tennessee and Auburn. It it will be one of those things when he retires one day that will be on his coaching, mementos of like
It'll
he's the
be
only
it'll be in
one
his
that
Hall of Fame. It'll be in his
I'm
Hall of
I'm
Fame, man.
hoping we clear out this old guard of national media that still has this thing about Bruce that can never admit how amazing Bruce is. I mean, there's still a certain element of it because he's at Auburn. People don't realize how deeply terrible Auburn was for so long. That this is way better than anything anybody else is doing at a competent program. That he dug us out of the graveyard and reanimated us and turned us into a national title contender because he hasn't won a national title yet. He's not getting the respect he deserves, but his job he's done here is absolutely insane. I've even heard national media this year talking about other coaches to give coaching the year to. Oh, Mark Pope over at Kentucky's done well. Oh, the Missouri coach has done well to bounce them back. We are doing historic things over here. Bruce can't win national coach of the year this year. He'll never win it. They just won't give it to him. They won't talk about him the way they deserve to be talked about.
with zero elite NBA players on his roster and with a bunch of 3 stars and transfers from other mid-major programs. I just he's doing it with less. We need to fix it. Auburn administration, fans, the NIL stuff. He is doing all this history making with less than his opponents, including the one he just beat today, which should kind of embarrass us as a university that this is a separate thing. We need to make sure that this program is getting what it needs to survive, not only the Bruce Pearl era, but this conference isn't slowing down. Hopefully there's some guardrails put in the next few years around this college athletic stuff. Jackson, we could have a whole separate podcast talking about that, but just don't miss it. And don't undersell how good he and his staff have been. And I hope for their sakes, they already got so much validation by making the Final Four once. I hope that whatever happens this year, I just hope it validates him even more, like you said, with everybody else. Because the job he's done, we know it because we watch it every day. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in college sports. It really is.
People talk
Bruce
about
Pearl built this program in a cave with a box of scraps.
he that's good. They say build a statue. Build Bruce's statue. He does something great. Build the statue. Screw statues. I don't want a single other statue of a person. I'm done with person statues. Build him a practice facility. Build him things that when he is in old age and he's decided to retire and he's like Sonny Smith doing the color call, that he can look around and say, I don't give a crap about this bronze statue out here. What I give a crap about is that the platform I built for this school is so deep by the time I left that we could screw up the coaching hires for the next 4 coaches, and there's still a competent program that's still extremely winnable no matter what coach we plug in here. And that's possible with Bruce if we play our cards right, if we stay motivated on this stuff. So hope we just keep that momentum and hope we utilize this kind of like thrill we're feeling right now to keep us going. Because it's not always going to be this high, but you can build a higher basement for sure at this program.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Kentucky did. Kentucky got rid of one of their winningest coaches of all time, a guy that had won a national championship, and they barely slowed down by bringing in somebody that was a player under Calipari and had been a great coach at another university. I mean, we're sowing the seeds for that now. And you're right, Jackson. I hope we're in position to reap it when the time finally comes for Bruce to hang it up.
And we're in a special situation too with Bruce and Steven. I think we all know it's an open secret that we think Steven will take over the program one day. Some of these coaches like Bruce get a little older. They can only think 5 years at a time, 4 years at a time, whatever, what their next contract's going to be, what can help them win right now. Bruce can think long-term. We all should be thinking long-term of like how to utilize this stuff. The AD should be thinking long-term. The admin should be thinking long-term. And luckily, Bruce will be thinking long-term too, because he doesn't want to leave this program. He doesn't want like a one big burst and then he's out kind of thing. He knows he wants to leave this thing to his son most likely one day, and we can help bring that long-term plan to him. So that's big picture on a big game like this, but I'm thinking big picture because this was historic. This was huge, and that's the kind of stuff you got to think about.
Can you see the headline? I think this is a good summary for our episode. Bruce has said, "We found a way, sucked it up, and made history." I love that focus. I can't wait to listen to his press conference on like just the toughness, the grit, we found a way through all the things, through all the adversity to get that historic win. There's just not many. Jackson, you're so right. This will be one we remember in a sport with 40 games a year, and we've been so good for so many years now. They kind of start to run together. We're gonna remember this one, and it was the pivotal point of this season so far, and I'm so glad we were on the winning side of it. Can we talk about the last minute really quick?
See, I forgot we didn't. After all the great talk we just had, we're gonna have to talk about this insane last minute.
Because I owe Matt a mea culpa. We were up 8 with 2 minutes to go, and I was having MVP talk. And Matt Donaldson, who the cool head of the group, comes in all caps. This game is not over.
It's great to be in Auburn time.
Oh, okay. That made me sick. With 90 seconds to go, only up 6. Oof.
I think it was more than 6, but the fact that it was like 50-something seconds left and Alabama's scoring every 4 seconds down the floor, it's like this game is an eternity from over. Yeah, Ben's texting about MVPs, and then we give it to Janai Broome twice, and he misses 4 free throws.
We were up 10 with a minute left on the clock, and because I didn't want to jinx it. But with 10 with a minute left on the clock, I thought it was a funny joke. I said, "Are we in the mat system? We're in the mat system, right? We're in the mat system." And oh my God, they did it perfectly. I give them some props a little bit. They scored so quickly every time down the court. The amount of times we've seen other teams dilly-dally around to get a good 2, and they take 20 seconds off the clock just to get a simple 2. Part of it was probably our fault that we were so desperate not to foul them that we were just really letting them go straight to the hoop. And you guys were even talking about like, oh, just give up the 2. Better than a 3, foul them, sure, whatever.
But again, remember,
but then we missed 4 free throws in a row. Broome missed 4 free throws in a row, put them right back in the game.
But that's part of what makes the mat system work. We were technically in the mat system with about 3.5 minutes to go because we finally got up 2 possessions late, and then we're able to stretch it. You have to play perfect basketball for so long, and Alabama did it for probably 3 or 4 possessions, but they needed 6.
And then Aiden Holloway hit an air ball 3 right when it was like, okay, maybe they got a chance here. If they hit this 3, it will actually I think it'll be back to 3 or 4 air balls, that freaking 3, and then turns it over, and it was game.
Well, Aiden was sold some kind of dream by Nate Oates there at the end.
I joked in our text that the mat system doesn't exist against Alabama because we were technically in it with like 14 minutes left or 13 minutes. And we were at 14 and it was gone like that.
So fast.
So Jackson, fast. I always go back. I was at that weird Auburn, I think it was LSU game with Javon McCormick. We were literally down 10 with less than a minute to go and we won.
Forced overtime, won the game. That was an amazing day.
It takes insanity, but you know what helps insanity happen? When our fans start chanting stuff when the game's not over, if you've been an Auburn fan for more than 8 minutes, You know you should never do that. That's unacceptable from everybody who was in there. Wait 5 more minutes and then do it at the end, and it will be fine. Number two, how is Janai Brew not throwing the ball in where he can't be fouled at the end? That's my complaints. And then Ben saying an MVP before the game's over. Those are my
And
complaints.
then
I was having a bit of a, but Ryan,
I deserve
the
it.
calm one of us all, Ryan said we lost the game multiple times, and all Auburn fans can agree and understand the feeling. He said it when CBM got the tech. He said the game we're going to blow it, and he said it when we gave it to Janine. He missed 2 more free throws. So we've all been Ryan Norman. We all know how bad we want to beat Alabama. I just hate that we always make it a little more
I'm
stressful.
Ryan Norman. You're Ryan Norman. Ben, are you Ryan Norman?
We are all Ryan Norman.
And my arm hurts.
Okay, sorry, I had to get that off my chest. I'm so glad we won, but I was just so
Well, here's
nervous
the
we
bad
were
bit
going to
because
do something stupid.
you wanted to talk about the minute too. I thought there's another funny sequence. He missed 4 free throws in a row. Brutal. It looks like they're going to get back in the game. So he finally, next time this happens, we finally work it to Denver. Denver goes and hits his two. Great. And then we had another one that was tough to get in, and he got into Cheney's hands, and he was desperate to get that ball out of his head. He about turned the ball over. He was so, because for a minute there was a play or two where Broom could have made a pass. It was not like an immediate foul. He could have made a pass, and it's usually good not to try to make that pass if it's a little risky. With Broom, the way he's shooting free throws, not so great. So when Cheney was like absolutely desperate to get that ball out of his hands to Miles Kelly, it was pretty funny.
I will say, Janai did a great job in some key free throw moments during the game when it was in doubt. Like he hit his free throws for the most part before the last stretch. Man, it's just a bugaboo for him. Our coaches have to do a good job there. But again, our coaches did an amazing job. Let's just clean. Bruce Pearl teams never end the game cleanly. Have never seen anything like it. It's incredible. We always make it a little more complicated than we need to.
In closing statements here, first of all, thanks for coming to the chat, guys. We got Canoe Man, Jay Lowry, Travis Pig, Pocket Watch, of course. Big shout out to Pocket Watch. Taylor Alexander, Gibbs. I think I said Chris Thomas already, maybe. Sanuchu, I don't know if I've seen them before, but War Eagle, glad you came. Miles Norgan. I know. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. I know you are such a Sensei Mud, Glenn, Community Cardio, a lot of great people in the chat. Thanks for coming. It's a lot of fun to celebrate with you guys in Timber's Corner. But I have this signed Bruce Pearl Auburn basketball court here. I got this signed by Bruce Pearl when he first came to Auburn. I was there when his plane landed. I was jumping up and down with him when he ran the crowd because he's always known how to make a great show of this kind of stuff. It was so cool to watch him do that. Great to watch his press conference when he talked about wanting to bring winning back here. When he came, we had to throw, talking about Auburn fans, we had to throw a pep rally style student section thing about learning how to be an Auburn basketball fan. People did not know how to be basketball fans. So we had like some students trying to like learn some cheers together out there. Bruce gave a speech. He was standing there signing everything, taking pictures with everybody. He signed my little basketball court here, which which I'd love to hang up in a bar in New York sometime or something. But I remember there was even a moment where one of the student leader people was like, hey, when they shoot free throws, we should all turn our ringtones on our phone and shine our lights at them. And Bruce was like, yeah, I don't think that one's legal, but it's just the growing pains we had. So it's funny you criticized our fans tonight for acting up too much, but we've learned a ton and our fans have gotten way smarter. There was a time late in the game where Bama was still kind of in it. I think it was when Denver was shooting his free throws and they were only down 6 or 7 and their fans were drop dead quiet. I could not believe how quiet their fans were being on those free throws at the end of the game. Like, sure, by the MAT system, this game's over. But you're the student section. You're against the number one team, and your team is like just coming off Janai Brew missing a bunch of like this is a chance here, and you guys aren't even yelling. Like, oh my god, like how I couldn't believe that. Our fans would never. Our fans would never do that. Like,
no. You cut it from 10 to 5 and you got Auburn rattled. Like you absolutely are in the game. And look, our fans are terrific. And to hear the AU in this game, Alabama's biggest game ever, we had enough people that you could hear it on free throws. And Alabama felt the need to respond to it by saying we suck, which is hilarious. Credit to our fans. All I ask is that we save our victory chance for like when we're dribbling the clock out at the very end of the game. That's my ask. That's my ask from people.
That AU chant, I don't know when that started, maybe like 5-6 years ago, but it's one of the coolest things we do, in my opinion, because a lot of these cool away games where we hit that big shot and the fans go quiet and then you hear the clap, clap AU from the upper deck. It's been great to hear. Great to hear on the road. Great to hear in neutral. Great to hear in Maui. Like that's one of the cooler things. And not every school does that kind of post
I
free
hope they did
throw
Rammer
cheer.
Jammer in there. I hope they did Rammer Jammer, the group that was there. I hope they had fun with it. That,
Oh,
that was always one of the best
they
things.
reverse rammer jammered. You know they did.
Always, always. That's one of my favorite things. I hope everybody. It would be great to hear from some listeners who were there. Maybe if you were there, like send us a quick, recap of what it was like being there for that historic game and watching Auburn prevail over the 6 opponents on the floor, like Jackson said.
All right, well, guys, I only got one last question for you. Matt, you having fun?
I'm having more fun than I know what to do with, Jackson. War Eagle, let's go.
Ben, you having fun?
There has never been fun had to this level for this long. It's so great to be an Auburn Tiger.
I don't know personally if I've ever had more fun as an Auburn basketball fan. We've had some high highs already. We've been to a Final Four. We've won SECs. We've had high picks in the NBA draft. This beating our rival in the biggest game ever in SEC basketball history, it will be up there in my mind and on the historic museum style of this for a long time as being one of the most fun games we've ever had. So I hope you got to enjoy it on the podcast, guys. I hope people in the chat and YouTube got to enjoy it. War Eagle.
War Eagle boys.
War Eagle.
All right, YouTube, thanks for joining us. Canoe Man, you got here late. Travis Pig, Jay Lowry, we're glad you were able to join in.
Jay, always appreciate your chats on Instagram. I don't always respond to them, but I see them during the game, and I appreciate it. I saw that one about CBM. If you didn't miss that during the live, that brought up that he spiked that ball right back at that lady or man. What was the deal with that? Did he knock a drink over or something on that guy? I couldn't tell what was going on.
Knowing Alabama, they probably said something racist.
Classic University of Alabama.
Well, just classic that whole state.
All right, guys, I got to run. Ben, are you going to put it up or do you want me to?
Yeah, no, I can put it up. And YouTube, we're going to let you know a little secret here. We may be missing Matt for a good bit of the year. So play this episode a few more times. Matt will hopefully be back to join us for the SEC tournament. Maybe a little March Madness time. Because, Matt, you think we're going to make the dance?
I think we've lost. I think we've punched our ticket now. Did we 11-1?
Yeah, did we get 20 wins yet, or
That's 22. 23 wins. Oh, I got bad news. In my preseason prediction, I told J-Dubs 25-6 was going to be our record this year. I think we might be a little better. We're going to find out.
Hope so.
Long way to go.
I don't think Ja'Kai Howard's going to win us a game for my hot take.
Yeah. No, pocket watch. Don't worry. Matt's going to be fine. He's got some stuff he's taking care of, and he'll be back with us a little later in the year.
Yeah, and maybe not too long. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to be watching these games. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, listen. I may try to get the Discord set up before the end of the year because our numbers keep going up, and it feels like something that people would have fun with. And Matt will definitely be able to be in the Discord or in the WhatsApp group that we have for this for sure.
Entertaining when all four of us are watching the game live, which isn't always true, but when it is, man, it's hilarious. It's fun.
It's chaos, but it's good content.
Cool.